Чув? Я не бачу. Ой, Боже.
Welcome to our channel. Thank you for taking your time, a few minutes out of your busy schedule to get to know how we survive in Ukraine. Our nonprofit is dedicated to delivering vital humanitarian aid to the rural residents in hard-to-reach, war-torn areas of Ukraine. I'm actually located in central Ukraine. Later you'll hear from our volunteers who are located in a hotspot, southern and eastern Ukraine. And you will hear in their own language and from my own words that the situation here on the ground in Ukraine is very different than how it is presented to you by your Western media channels on CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, or Sky News in the UK or Australia. You see, there are several reasons for that. Let me try to explain why the information differs dramatically. You see, they have professional copywriters, or people who write scripts professionally. And you also have professional teleprompter readers, TV anchors who are professionally trained, and they have many years, sometimes decades of experience of reading from the teleprompter so well that they're able to effortlessly step into your living room from your television screen. And they follow, the copywriters and people who stand behind them, they follow a certain agenda to create a certain narrative, to convince you of certain things. We don't have any agenda other than to show you the real picture on the ground in Ukraine. The situation is devastating, it's tragic, it's chaotic, it's dark, it's diabolical. As you'll see on your screens in just a little bit, you'll see charred buildings, charred cars, dead bodies laying everywhere on the streets, in battlefields and just open fields of Ukraine. Hundreds and hundreds of dead bodies, decaying. Can you imagine the smell? Now imagine if you knew the person that you recognize on the street. You said hello to your neighbor, or to your friend, God forbid, to your loved one. And then later that day, you walk by and you see that person laying on the street, dead, because of some mortal wound, from the shrapnel that flies at supersonic speeds. You may not know this, but when an explosion happens from a bomb or a mortar attack or a missile that explodes, what kills a person is not necessarily the air pressure or the air wave, but there are thousands upon thousands of metallic pieces or shrapnel or debris that just flies in any direction from the center of an explosion, from the blast itself. And that debris, the metallic particles, is what kills a person or wounds a person. And sometimes it can penetrate through concrete walls. There are many instances where when people would be sleeping in a basement under a high-rise building, it's a relatively, safe concrete structure. But when an explosion happens nearby, just outside the wall, near the basement where people are sleeping, sometimes the force of the shrapnel, the metallic debris that travels so fast, it penetrates through the concrete wall, very thick walls, and wounds or kills the person behind the wall. And so you may not know this, but now we have over 500,000 Ukrainian soldiers that have lost their lives. And the latest statistic estimates that we have 50,000 orphans or newly orphaned children in Ukraine. But if you just use simple math, 500,000 fathers who will never return home to their family members, probably I would have to guess that there'll be more than 50,000 orphans as a result of 500,000 fathers that will never return home. But be it as it may, can you imagine the devastation of children having to see all this? Children not being able to fall asleep because of explosions, constant bombardments, constant explosions, the sirens. Now, the living conditions, let me just describe it to you. The description that I'd like to give to you that's real, the real situation on the ground in Ukraine is this. Many people, especially in southern and eastern Ukraine, live in basements, or if they're in rural areas, in cellars. Some of them might have basements. Very small quarters where they live without electricity, without water, without heat, without air conditioning, without the bathrooms or water closets, using the British vernacular. Everybody knows it's very dangerous to be outdoors. That's why they stay below ground, indoors. That's the safest place to be. Now, can you imagine living below ground in a small cellar or in a basement months on end? Can you imagine the state of your mind at that point? It's constantly dark, no vitamin D, no nutrition, no showering, not really a bathroom to go to. It's just something in the corner that's been adapted to become your bathroom, your new way of taking care of your business. So can you just picture the level of devastation if the wife, the mother of a child, learns that her husband is now dead, he's not coming home, and she has this 3 or 4 little children living with them in the basement, and sometimes even their elderly parents are with them, who are quite often disabled. Can you imagine that? And sometimes, unfortunately, many mothers lose their minds. Sometimes they just can't take it anymore and they walk outside and get killed in an explosion. And that leaves us children newly orphaned, to add to the statistic. And that's what we do at our nonprofit. All of us were volunteers. So we take care of the orphans, the widows, the elderly. We're the only nonprofit that actually focuses on delivering humanitarian aid to rural, hard-to-reach places in Ukraine, where our pastors are volunteers. See, we're believers, and so we have a network of pastors or churches that we use for our humanitarian purposes. So our volunteers, or often pastors, deliver humanitarian aid, which is food, water, and power banks or batteries, so that people could stay in touch with us and let us know they're okay. And sometimes they have to drive through active battlefields or active war zones. And this is, I'm sharing with you something that you'll never learn anywhere else. Quite often, the roads are mined, heavily mined on both sides. And as they drive on those country roads, they quite often see tanks coming right at them. And they have to quickly yield as to not to be crushed by a 50-ton military vehicle. But the roads are narrow, and you can't really get off the road because you'll be blown out by a mine. See, there are mines buried on both sides of the road. That's the reality in Ukraine. And so when they yield, they have to be very careful. We use prayer and the connection to the creator of the universe in a very different, real way. We say a prayer and we hope to be kept safe. And fortunately, thank God, so far we have not lost a single volunteer. All of our pastors are safe. Nothing has happened to them. And then they're able to get there safely and return to their homes, to their family members. So it takes a tremendous amount of faith. That's what's going on the ground. Belief in supernatural, because we realize our lives, we're not in control of anything. Even minute by minute, our lives could end very unexpectedly. And by education, I'm an economist, so let me share with you the financials just a little bit, without boring you too much. But every dollar that we receive from our donors is used very wisely. We don't fly first class, we don't drive expensive cars. We actually drive 1975 old Soviet Zhiguli cars. Those Zhiguli cars are, as you can imagine, very inexpensive to maintain, and the spare parts are also easy to find, and they're also quite inexpensive. But most importantly, when our volunteers take their personal vehicles, those Zhiguli Soviet-made old vehicles, on the roads in rural Ukraine, soldiers on both sides of the battlefield, they begin to recognize that these are civilians, volunteers delivering humanitarian aid to other civilians. And so they're not being targeted. Had we used more expensive vehicles or SUVs or minivans, that would be more visible, and perhaps that would attract more attention and be possibly targeted. So that's another reason why we use those old super compact Soviet-made cars from 1970s. And again, to reiterate, every dollar that we receive from you goes towards the mission of delivering food, water, and medicines to the needy people in rural Ukraine. And if you have considered doing something useful or spiritual, or you feel like exploring the world of philanthropy, and if you ever considered making a donation or becoming our monthly supporter, we've actually built a perfect platform for you. You can go to donatetoUkraine.org, choose a make a donation button, and you'll be taken to a secure portal on PayPal where you can make a secure donation by going to donatetoUkraine.org. And then if you would choose make a monthly contribution, the same amount will be taken out from your debit or credit card every month on the same date. And if you have a PayPal account, of course, you can substitute that. You can make a donation from your PayPal account. One other analogy I'd like to give you, a little reference point, what $5 could do, for instance. If you're a coffee drinker anywhere in the West, a cup of coffee would probably cost $5 at least. If you were to donate to us $5, that would ensure that a small child would be fed, and baby formula would be bought, and diapers for a whole week. would be provided for that small child. $7 would keep a family fed for a whole week. What is $7? Well, next time you brush your teeth, you may not have realized, but anywhere in the West, a tube of toothpaste costs about $7 on average. So that would give you a perspective. When you'll be considering brushing your teeth, you might consider becoming our monthly donor at $7 or perhaps even a greater amount. That would keep a family fed for a whole week. That's just to give you a perspective of what we do. Now, the core of our nonprofit's mission is to spread peace in Ukraine and in other parts of the world eventually. And I assure you, even if tomorrow peace would be proclaimed in Ukraine and there will be an armistice declared, ceasefire will be declared, or if we'll reach permanent peace, we will not be resting anywhere. We will actually, work will just begin, because we'll be involved in rebuilding the infrastructure in Ukraine, rebuilding houses, apartment buildings, schools, kindergartens, wastewater treatment plants, which have been all demolished. And so we also would like to promote peace in other countries. After we're done rebuilding Ukraine, we'll take our system or methodology, if you will, to share with other parts of the world where they're going through war and devastation, how to cope with that amount of damage and stress. Speaking of stress, it will probably take a great number of psychotherapists or psychologists and psychiatrists to help the population of Ukraine heal, both adults and especially children. Now imagine we're all going on 1 or 2 hours of sleep. You know, when you have explosions and sirens happening constantly, or people calling you with urgent requests, there is no time to sleep. It's not possible. So you're under constant stress, sort of a level of stress, high level of stress. And that, imagine adults barely able to cope with that. What about children? Well, that's where I think counseling would be crucial. And the post-traumatic stress disorder levels will be extremely high post-war. It would be very difficult for many people to rewire themselves psychologically to be able to go out and enjoy sunshine in the park. You know, perhaps it will take some time to heal. And so, but we will not stop at rebuilding Ukraine. Our goal is to spread the message of peace. And our mission, Agape Ministry of Ukraine, agape, of course, is the biblical term of Greek origin, which means the unconditional love of God that transcends all human understanding, gives us hope. It inspires us to unite into this one global family where we could promote peace and help each other. That's our ultimate goal. Our core mission is to promote peace around the world through diplomatic means, through religious means, through any other means possible, just to avoid this devastation and death and unnecessary lives lost because of corruption, because of hidden agenda, which I'm going to talk in my other videos, the hidden agenda behind the war machine, the military-industrial complex that President Eisenhower had warned us right before his retirement in a televised speech. And indeed, it's a very, very dark industry that profits from the deaths of many, many people around the world. So in other words, they employ special consultants or lobbyists to start wars around the world under very, very underhanded pretenses. And we're going to discuss it later in other videos. On this note, I'd like to say something positive, that because of your support, because of your kind words and your emails that you write to us, that gives us hope to live another day, to have a reason to live, to help other human beings. Your financial support, we're eternally grateful to you for everything that you sent to us. And it gives us the opportunity to buy food, medicine, and water, and to deliver it to the needy, especially those needy people in rural Ukraine, where they otherwise would be neglected if it wasn't for our volunteers from our nonprofit. And so we want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts for everything you've done for us and you're doing for us still. We would like to let you know that if you haven't done so, if you would like to consider becoming our monthly supporter, you could go to our website, www.donatetoUkraine.org, and choose Make a Donation button. Click on that and you'll be taken to a secure page where you can make a donation through PayPal from your debit card or your credit card. We are eternally grateful for any amount you wish to donate. We appreciate any effort that you choose to extend to us to help the needy people of Ukraine live another day. Thank you, and as we say here, Slava Bogu, мы все вместе. Thank God we're working together as a team, as a family. Please join our movement, our peace movement. Sign up for our newsletter. Please share this message with your family, circle of friends and family members to help us promote the message of peace, because we're desperately looking forward for the day when we'll have peace in Ukraine. On this note, I want to thank you again. I want to mention that we pray for your safety, for your well-being out there, no matter where you live. So thank you to all of you, our audience, our supporters. God bless you. Take care. And we truly hope to see you at the very top in paradise of God. Thank you, and we'll talk again soon. Take care.